Hi, everyone. Dr. Madewell here, and I had some coffee, so maybe I won't be have such a scratchy throat. But let's get it going to discuss selecting a trauma and more about data coding. So I'm going to share my PowerPoint real quick. When we're talking about our data, we need to still work on cleaning and preparation. What we want to do next is to pick one of the life stressor checklist revised items that are included in this data set. Oftentimes, when I tell students, pick a topic of interest to you, and you miss the last clause within the archive data set. So make sure it's in the archive data set, because every semester I have students that want to study a different kind of topic that's not really in the data set. So we want to make sure that you pay attention to those details, okay? And when you're in graduate school, you can research whatever you choose. But here, we're stuck within the parameters of my archive data set. Within the life stressor checklist revised, if you wanted to go to the ptsd.va.gov, and you can download all of the life stressor checklist revised materials that were created by Wolf and Kimmerling in 1997. Just because I say it was created by the VA, it does not talk about combat. This is not about soldiers. This is about just everyday life trauma. Okay. Here are some sample items, and yes, they're small, but I only have 7 on here. There are 29 items that assess different aspects of stress or trauma. The first item, have you ever been in a serious disaster? For example, an earthquake, hurricane, large fire, explosion, and based on our part of the world, a tornado. Have you ever seen a serious accident or had a very serious accident? Was a close family member ever sent to jail? Have you ever been sent to jail? Were you ever put up in foster care or put up for adoption? Now, I don't really like this item because being in foster care and being put up for adoption are very different topics. Remember that the VA created this measure to only have 29 questions. It could have easily been 100 questions. Okay. So remember that this is just a basic assessment tool. When you're working with clients, you can, if they say yes, then you can unpack those details over the next 6 weeks of your client interaction, okay? Number 7, did your parents ever separate or divorce while you were living with them? So as you can see, there's a wide variety of traumas. I just picked the first 7. Please read through those. That was the week 1 assignment for you to read through those. I didn't ask you to answer them because I don't want you to feel like you need to share with me any of these details. That's very private. But pick one of interest to you that you would like to research all term. Now, the questions were asked in our survey. One column actually has 2 questions within it that I have coded. So I want to break those apart for you. First off, we asked, have you ever had the trauma? So maybe they said, number 7, did your parents ever separate or divorce while you were living with them? If they said yes, they were given a follow-up question. How much has this affected you in the last year? A 1 meant not at all. So they've had it, but maybe their parents had a nice amicable divorce. One of my really good friends, once her parents divorced, both parents were healthier. They both lost weight. They, you know, um, parents were trying to keep it together for the kids until they went off to college, but the kids knew, and so once their parents got divorced, the kids were like, y'all should have done this a long time ago. The house wouldn't have been so stressful to live in, where y'all were acting like you liked each other. So maybe that might be the case. A 2 or 3, maybe it's affected them some. When your parents divorce or separate while you're still living with them, I really like the Babysitter's Club books. because they talk about how instead of having one levy, the daughter now got a second one. So she has one at dad's house and one at mom's house. And she cut her favorite baby blanket in half and put half of it at mom's house and half of it at dad's house. So maybe it affected her some, but you're doing okay. There's 4, and then there's 5 that are saying that separation or divorce affected them extremely. Now, these are the type of people, this group of people, if they said a 4 or 5, we're probably kind of concerned about them. How are their relationships going? Are they going to be able to finish college okay? Those are so they might be in our group of interest. Okay, now, if we asked, did your parents ever separate or divorce while you were living with them? If they said no, they were coded with a 0, and then they were given LSCR question number 8. Okay. So I want you to understand that when you're looking at the numbers, a 0 is the control group. Okay, so if we're looking at, did your parents ever separate or divorce while you were living with them, and they said a 0, they're in our control group. So for this first project, we need to put them on the side and focus on people who said 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. I hope this makes sense. Let's go ahead and look at our data. I'm going to stop my share. We'll go ahead and get the data open and have a new share. All right. Okay, now I can see that you're seeing my data set, and I hope this is open on your computer as well. So what we would like to do is go to data, and we want to go to select cases. Data, select cases. When we select cases, we want to select who? People who said 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on LSCR 7. We'll just pick up LSCR 7. And so we want to say if, we need to have these logic statements. If they said 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, we want to select them. So data, select cases. If, let's click on that little if. We get a new dialog box. And we want LSCR 7. Let's scroll down to find it. LSCR 7. Pop it over. We want to, so remember, we're selecting cases if. So we want the people we want. Okay. And we want them if they have greater than or equal to 1. That means they scored a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 on LSCR 7. And hit continue. What's going to happen to our output? It's going to filter out the zeros, the unselected cases. Now, if you're in a more advanced project and you don't want a person, you could copy your selected cases to a new data set, and you could name it divorced children or children of divorce or something like that. Or you could delete the unselected cases. We still want to keep them because we're going to use them later on in the semester, okay? So we want to just filter out our unselected cases. If you can, look at my screen for a second. I want you to look at the far left numbers. Okay, see how there's all these numbers over here. Now let's hit OK to filter out our cases. We get our output to tell us that we did not have any errors in our code. But look, now we see, so person 2 was in our control group. So now they're slashed out. 14, 15, 16, 18, 19, 21, 22. So we have a lot of kiddos. Yeah, these are emerging adults, not kiddos, but a lot of emerging adults who didn't have that trauma. But look at all those that did. Quite a few that did. So now, let me go on our output screen. Okay. Well, it didn't tell us that our select cases went without flaw. Well, that's okay. We can see that we now have slashes. If you do not have slashes, it could be that SPSS is being finicky. Close out of SPSS and reboot and follow the video again. All right. Now, what do we want to do? We want to know about our divorced people. So we're going to go to Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and Frequencies. We did this in the past video, and that showed us the summary of our full sample. Now, we want this to show us university, sex, ethnic age for those children who grew up in a household where their parents separated or divorced. Let's look at our numbers. We have 158. We have our numbers all look good. Okay. We don't have any odd ranges of numbers. Let's see. 132 or 83.5% were from OSU. 20 or 12.7% were from SE, and 6 or 3.8% were from Cameron. Okay, so if we look at this and have 158, what percentage? Oh, my phone is dead. Lovely. Well, I'm just going to calculate. If we have 158 out of 451, what percentage is that? Around 30%. Which is lower than US statistics. I think divorce rates are around 50 or 60%. So we could say Oklahomans are doing okay in terms of our sample, or that's kind of the healthy hypothesis. If we look at who's in college, those are healthier people, right? And so maybe those who didn't make it to college might be more from parents who divorced. We don't know that. But... All right. So what we would like I want you to do is to summarize the university, their sex, their race, ethnicity, and their age. And now one other thing that we didn't do, so to summarize all of this, it's one paragraph, and I'd like a table about their race, ethnicity. I don't know why that came out weird. All right, I'm going to go to my Excel document and click on the Codebook tab. So 1 is Black, 2 white non-Hispanic, 3 is Hispanic Latino, 4 is Asian or Pacific Islander, 5 is Native American, 6 is other. That means kind of a mix, and a 0 would mean they didn't answer. That's very common in our current time frame with our politics the way that they are. People are kind of scared to respond, which we don't know who any of these people are. We tell them in the consent form that your data is anonymous, but sometimes we will have missing data, and that is okay. Now, one last thing that we need to do, I'm switching over to SPSS. Make sure we still have all of our slashes because we want to focus on those kiddos who grew up in a divorced household or separated. We need to analyze descriptive statistics and do the frequencies for LSCR 7. Okay, so we could have just done it this way. Okay, for yours, just analyze frequencies and pop all of our main variables over. Let's look at those who have experienced divorce. All right, so if we look at LSCR 7, there are 25 people, or 15.8%, who reported a 1. 16 or 10% who reported a 2. That's odd. Okay, let's go ahead and draw this out. Let's make a little histogram here. So if our axes meet at 0, what's our highest frequency is 58. So if we make this 60. Okay. And we have our group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have, if that's 60, is that 30? Maybe this is 30. So we have 25 ones. Hopefully that looks good. Not quite wide enough. We have 16 twos. Oh, crud. I'm going to erase that. Try it again. Okay, so we have 25 ones, 16 twos. Now, which usually we don't, with if our data is normal, it doesn't go down. Here we would usually have, our bell curve would go like this. So our data is not typical. We have 33 threes. Oh, my awesome drawing skills. 26 fours. So a little more than that first bar. And 58 fives. No laughing at my drawing skills. Or you can laugh, it's okay. Now, does our data look normal? Whoop, well, that doesn't look normal, does it? I'll erase that and try it again. Maybe I had too much coffee. Okay, now our data doesn't look normal at all. So if we drew our histogram out, and we want to make sure our bars are touching, because we ask people to report on a Likert scale from 1 to 5. How much has this affected them? Our fives, they were the ones who said this affected them extremely. Okay, so these are the people, we really want to focus on. If we have 58 students who are extremely affected in this past year by their parent separation or divorce, are they going to make it through college? It's probably going to be pretty tough on them. They're probably going to have some relationship issues, maybe some trust issues. Maybe they think fighting is the norm. You hear all different kinds of things from individuals. When you grow up with your parents for 18 years, you learn a lot from them. And maybe you learned a lot of they learned a lot of what not to do. And so we'd really want our fours and our fives in some kind of counseling would be excellent for them, or maybe maybe a specific class. And maybe we could ask our state or university for funding to allow us to offer a class for these individuals to make sure they can matriculate, make sure they're not in a toxic relationship, make sure they're not maybe depressed, right? Or overly anxious. So, what can we discern from a frequency distribution? Not a whole lot. All we know are the frequencies and percentages of these individuals. We do not want to overgeneralize. So I do want you to write this up and create an abstract. But remember, we're not doing any statistical analysis. We're just summarizing who had what, who said what. We can't control for people that lied to us. So maybe there might be people in the control group whose parents separated and they just forgot, maybe they just didn't save that memory, or they didn't want to share with us in a survey. Remember, when we ask people on a survey to tell us their thoughts, behaviors, and attitudes, we hope that they're honest with us, and that way we can help them. But I think it's interesting that a lot of you said in your notes that you would rather talk to people about traumas that you've experienced face to face. That's very interesting. I'm glad that you're able to do that. It's usually a very difficult thing to do. Well, This summarizes what I want you to do for your first project. Make sure to write your abstract. It's hard to write an abstract when you didn't really run any statistical analysis. You're just reporting frequencies. However, being able to report a frequency distribution at your job and write it up in a few minutes, because honestly, this project would take less than an hour to do. And you'll get faster at it is if you're more comfortable with the facility you're working at. You could easily maybe get a promotion by having these skills: cleaning and coding data, summarizing data, writing up reports for your boards of directors. All right. Who needs help? These 4s and 5s. I don't know, maybe the 3s as well. But somebody else might want to research these 1s. How are they doing so great? How did their parents' divorce not affect them at all? Okay. So be thinking about what you want to write about for this project. Everybody's projects are going to be different, even though you're all utilizing this same data set. Try to have fun with it. And I look forward to seeing your reports and hearing what your ideas are. Thanks again.